Now, the next morning we matched up the 4 or 5 signals in this report with the polygraph record, and yet there's a few more pages of REM. As I flip the pages, there's another signal, and I say, well, wait a minute, what's that one? And our subject blushed and said, oh, that was an experiment of my own. And what the experiment was is she was engaged in dream sex. After having carried out our experiment, she said, okay, now I can do whatever I want, and there it is. And she wanted to see what that would look like on the polygraph. Now, it didn't really look like anything because we weren't making any appropriate measures, but I asked her, did she want to find out, and she did. So we made the appropriate measures. We borrowed a vaginal blood flow probe from the physiology department. And this probe also was able to measure muscle contractions. And this shows a lucid dream, an instance of lucid dreaming sex. And each data point represents 15 seconds. At signal 1, the subject becomes lucid. She reports having been floating above her bed in the laboratory. Realizes, this is a dream. And thinking immediately, and dream sex, okay, well, I don't want to get involved with anyone around the lab here because I'm going to wake up in a few minutes and have to report this, and that could be awkward, as you can imagine. So she flies to the wall, is flying above the campus for about 2 minutes, and then she sees some tourists down below and decides now's the time. She flies down, picks out a volunteer for the sake of science at signal 2, and 15 seconds later signals an orgasm. And you'll see at that point the respiration rate is doubled, reaches the highest level of the night. Likewise, the vaginal pulse, the blood flow, pulse amplitude, and the EMG, the muscle contractions, also you can see are associated with that period of the dream. And in fact, this is consistent with the reports that people make of extremely believable, realistic experiences in the dream. That's not just dream sex, but it's everything that happens in the dream can seem as real can be. It can even seem more real than real can be. The kind of psychedelic reality to things, the extra vividness and vibrancy, although that's not the usual case. Now, this is all very nice. If you have lucid dreams only once or twice a year, then it may not seem too relevant. But the next point I'd like to cover is the fact that lucid dreaming is a learnable skill, that it's something that you can develop. And the first piece of evidence for that I'll show you is my own experience. And in that case, this shows the 3 years of my dissertation study at Stanford, in which I was recording the number of lucid dreams I was having per month. And in the first 6 months, I'm averaging about 1 per week in here. Fluctuates. And what I'm doing at that point is saying, tonight I'm going to have a lucid dream, a kind of auto-suggestion technique. And at point A, I'm writing the dissertation proposal saying that I can study this in the laboratory and that I'm going to be the subject. So obviously my motivation has increased a lot there, and I really want to show I can do it. And indeed, there's a very substantial increase in the number of lucid dreams I have. Drops back down after I'm done with it, though, because motivation, you can't sustain that long. I'm in the lab at point B, again, highly motivated to have lucid dreams, and I do somewhat better than I have been doing. And there's this general increase, and at about this point, I ask myself, well, what am I doing? Sometimes this is easy. How does it work? Because it's mysterious to say, tonight I will have a lucid dream, without having any idea how I'm going to do that. And what I realized at this point is what I was doing is I was simply remembering that there was something I wanted to do later. Later tonight, I want to realize I'm dreaming. And that what I was using was prospective memory, or memory for intentions, or ability to remember to do things later in life. It's a rudimentary skill that we've developed. We may not be very good at it, but it is something that we know what it is. We know how to do that. We can practice it. So once I got that idea, which is that's the mental strategy I'm going to use to have lucid dreams, then the level essentially doubled and then started going up and up as I developed a skill, the mnemonic induction of lucid dreams that I called it, based on visualizing what I wanted to do after awakening from a dream and seeing myself recognizing I was dreaming in the next dream and then focusing my mind on that intention. And that practicing with that technique, I got to point C where I was having lucid dreams at will, so that on any night I wanted to have lucid dreams, I could succeed and have several in that night. And so I said, well, this is my goal. I now have learned how to do this, so I didn't have to try all the time to do this. And then you see a decrease in level until the phase 4, when I'm back in the laboratory again, needing to have lucid dreams. So this suggests that this is a learnable skill, and it develops with practice and intention. If you want to focus on this, you can develop it. And just to let you know that the devil made me do it, this is a illustration by William Blake. Can we get that into focus here? Illustrating Milton's Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost, it describes Lucifer visiting the Garden of Eden and causing Eve to have a dream in which she is a goddess. And as Milton says, Lucifer, there they found, squat like a toad here, close at the ear of Eve, essaying by his devilish art to reach the organs of her fancy, and with them forge illusions as he list, phantasms and dreams. So the idea of some external stimulus affecting the dream content obviously goes way back. And we had the idea of, once got the idea of what we're trying to do and to become lucid is to remember to do something, then the idea came that, well, we should provide a reminder if possible. How could we give people a reminder while they're dreaming? And the first idea that came to us was to use some kind of audio message, an announcement to be made that could be, as in this case, be incorporated in the dream, something like this.
Your attention, please. This is a dream.
And indeed, that worked quite effectively at times. The first time we tried it, the message actually said, Stephen, you're dreaming. Remember to continue to sleep, but realize you're dreaming. And I had a dream in the lab that night in which I heard from the next, I was sleeping very poorly. I was not seeming to be able to fall asleep at all. And in fact, I heard from the next room the statement by someone whose voice I didn't recognize, a German of some sort, saying, that's very strange. The subject has had no REM sleeps the entire night. And I'm thinking, yeah, I'm not even asleep yet, you know. And then suddenly, over the PA system, you're dreaming. Wow, of course, this is a dream. It's great. And then, louder yet, it seemed to me, continue to sleep. So we realized, no, that's not the way to do it. So the whole challenge with that, it's a very direct method, but the problem is while we sleep, we monitor the environment for danger with our ears, not with our eyes, because our eyes are closed and it's dark. But we'll wake up if we hear our name, for example, or something unusual happens, we'll wake up to deal with it. Think of how maladaptive it would be to be sleeping in the jungle, and there is the roar of a tiger, okay? And you climb a dream tree. So people that did that would not pass on genes to people to have that sort of incorporation. So sound is a tricky one, and so we had to come up with other means of getting a message into the dream state. And we did some experimentation with vibrations, which actually were quite effective. Having people wear little personal vibrators around their ankles, for example, throughout the day, time to go off every hour or so. Bob Rich did a honors thesis at Stanford with that. And we found that, indeed, people could then learn to recognize that vibrating cue, which then appeared in their dream. So in the dream, then we'd have at the foot of the bed, a vibrator go off, and people would then feel vibrations that often was very indirect, an earthquake, something suddenly happens. But we did get success with that. But it also tended to have problems that it also was too noisy, and people would be awakened by the sound. So again, we had the problem we need some other sensory modality. And so in the earlier 80s, we started trying out light in different ways. And we first started using a strobe light beside the bed, but strobe lights are very noisy too. They tick, 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 tick. And also, all the subject has to do is turn over and put his head under the pillow, and strobe light does no good. And so we then decided, well, we should build lights into a pair of goggles. Now, many of you will be familiar with this goggle idea from an entirely different direction, which is the use in the waking state of this. But our reason for doing it was we needed to have a stimulus that could be constant no matter what position a person was sleeping in. So this is from National Geographic. It's a picture of the dream tribes of Northern California. And this shaman is in ceremonial gear, wearing EMG electrodes to detect muscle tone and brain waves and so on. And when it is detected that he's in REM sleep, then we cause the lights in his goggles to flash like that. And we say, what does it mean? Flashing lights, why do the lights just go on? Isn't that weird? And if your mind is functioning, you're going to say, oh, it's because I'm sleeping in the lab. And these are actually, it's dream light. It's this flashing light, so that makes this a dream. Okay? So that's the way it works. Now, here's a polygraph record showing this in operation, where here's brain waves in the top, eye movements, muscle tone, and here's the signal, the flashing lights. Okay? And immediately after these flashing lights, there's a lucidity signal up here. And the subject then dreams on, and then we've got another set shown 2 minutes later, and he continued on in this dream for 50 minutes. So this is quite a long lucid dream, and we know he was still lucid because he kept signaling every 2 minutes approximately throughout that. It was quite an epic. He says that he was high the entire next day from that dream somehow, that his mood was very much elevated by it, and it was an ecstatic experience. One of those, it's a side effect. We're trying to get rid of it, but, but there it is. So the flashing lights could have taken many forms, could have taken the room lights flashing like that, or perhaps lightning, you know, or fire or a storm of some kind. Can take many different forms in this way. So, for instance, it may come from a dream object. It might be suddenly I've got something in my hand that starts flashing. It could be superimposed on the scene without a source, something like the lights in the room suddenly going on and off, that everything is this way. Or unaltered incorporations where you see in front of you flashing, those are the lights from the mask. Okay? It can be psychedelic geometric patterns, so strange mandalas appearing with light and pulsations, very much the same kinds of experiences you can get with light and sound machines will sometimes appear, even though the stimuli tend to be 2 per second, for example. And so they're not the higher flicker rates, which usually give you the bright patterns, but in the dreaming mind, these are often transformed in very creative ways. And alterations in the general light level, where the clouds go behind the sun and then suddenly come out, and it gets brighter in the room, and the sense of blinking pulsations and so on.
Kinetic systems. I'd like to welcome you to the Neurotechnology Forum, and thank you all for being here.